Welcome into Washington Football Live. Julie Donaldson, Santana Moss here with you. The field behind us is empty for a reason. That is because the team today is going to be heading to FedEx Field for a practice that was postponed. It was supposed to be last Thursday, but the team decided to have a conversation on social injustice. It has been rescheduled because Coach wants to make sure that the guys have the opportunity, with no preseason, Tana, to be able to practice at the field. I mean, I can't imagine going through all of this, no preseason games, and then just week one the first time you're at the stadium.
Yeah, they have it hard, and I think, the change of scenery is best. I mean, it's a perfect time for it, and, you get a different feel of how practice should be, when it comes to having, a preseason game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's the outcome of this, this practice under the lights. Even though it's going to be in the daytime, it's still going to have the lights out. And
the stadium will be empty, which it will be as we do begin this season as well. So we'll get a feel for what it's like having some of that sound noise, crowd noise pumped in. I'm excited for it. I really am. It's also going to be the first time that D'Angelo Hall and Bram Weinstein and myself will be calling the game practice from 1 to 2 o'clock. There's going to be a bit of a warm-up and just individual drills and then a little bit of a scrimmage. You can catch that on ESPN or Team 980, ESPN 630, and then we're going to repackage that and put it on all of our social networks at 7 p.m. and then also on NFL Network at 11. So plenty of opportunities for you to be able to see how this is all coming together. Fingers crossed. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good. Yes, I'm nervous.
You're going to kill it.
That's all right. Hey, look, there's a lot of conversations that we had amongst the coaching staff and the front office because Saturday is when they have to cut down the rosters. Kyle Smith is a very big part of making those decisions. A couple of days ago, I chatted with him just kind of about his coming up into this role, how they're handling everything with COVID and making some of those decisions. Here is Kyle Smith.
This is by far from your first training camp, but it is your first in COVID. For all of us, it's really kind of difficult to navigate, but we're finding people are really coming together to try to make the best of it. I mean, from your side, how is it? We're now meeting officially, by the way, on Zoom.
Yeah, it's been obviously it's unique times for everybody. The thing that I've been really impressed with from an organizational standpoint is our support staff. You got, ever since this pandemic really started, Chris Boyer is a guy who's kind of an OG in our organization for a long time, and he's took on a leadership role ever since the pandemic happened way back in March, and with the training camp approaching, we weren't real sure about how it's going to, what the setup's going to be. The league came through with protocols and setups that we had to do for training camp. Our building wasn't really suited for 80 guys, 100 people to be socially distanced. So John Rackey is a guy who's probably the MVP of our training camp right now, who set up all the tents that you see behind you and secondary locker rooms, secondary workout rooms, all those things. RB, his training staff has been outstanding. Joe Caulfield, Ian Abici, monitoring our gadget. I don't know if you can see this socially distancing gadget that we got on our wrist, but those guys make sure all that stuff is charged up. Security staff, everybody's really played a part in getting the training camp going.
There's times if we have ours on right now and you're in your office, which is apparently just literally on the other side of the wall right here, it would go off because we're too close to each other, even though there's a wall and a glass between us.
Yeah,
that's how serious.
I've walked by you guys and you've lit me up before a couple of times. I could see it start going off. But yes, that's how it is. That's how it works.
And also you bring up an interesting point in the locker rooms on how they're separate. Okay, so I saw Chase Young this morning having to walk to the bubble because that's where his locker room is. Like, is that part of rookie hazing at all?
No, that's the way it is. That's the way it's set up. There's guys spread out all over the place. We got the bubble. We got down in the tent kind of behind you where you can see down there near the turf fields. And then obviously our normal locker room. But it's really, once you get used to it, it's uncomfortable, but like I said, all those guys you mentioned, the support staff, they've made it comfortable for as comfortable as it can be for everybody in the building.
And it seems to be working because the numbers that are testing positive, they just don't even exist right now, which is really great and gives you a lot of hope for the season going off. One thing, though, that makes it really difficult for your job now as VP of Player Personnel, by the way, is evaluating the team. And there's no preseason to do that. So everybody wants to know, how is it that you're trying to dwindle? It went from 90 to 80 automatically coming in because of COVID. How do you get to that 53?
Yeah, it's going to be challenging, but, it is what it is. 32 teams are dealing with the same thing. From a evaluation standpoint, our coaching staff has done a great job with the tempo of practice in the compete periods. That's what you're looking for as an evaluator, is seeing our guys compete and are they servicing each other out there with good tempo, high volume, high reps, to where we can get an evaluation. The challenging part will be, Julie, the special teams aspect, because special teams is where you use the preseason live tackling, running down that back end of your roster, depending if it's wide receivers, running backs, corners, linebackers. A lot of that is determined based off of special teams and how they contribute. So that will be the challenging part, but Nate Katzer, our special teams coach, is as good as there is in the league, in my opinion. There ain't no question about it, and he does a great job with his drills and practice to give us a good look and evaluate.
You're not new to this franchise, while you are maybe new to the position itself, but how have you seen things change under Ron Rivera?
Well, it's been good working with Coach Rivera. It's been pretty smooth, the transition, and we work well together, and our staffs work well together. The coaching staff has been impressive through free agency, the draft, and now into training camp. So the process has been really good. I'm excited about the direction moving forward.
So, per se, there's no general manager, right? You have Ron Rivera on the football, you have now Jason Wright over the team, and then you have you yourself over player personnel. Is that kind of, fans are kind of curious, is that how it's going to be going forward? And how does that kind of really work to make sure that everything gets done the way that it needs to, fully functioning?
Yeah, well, all I know is what my job is, and my job in personnel is to help, obviously with coach, it's a pretty clear path that was talked about with Mr. Snyder from the first day that he was hired. It's a coach-centric organization. And my job and the rest of our staff's job is to create clarity for coach to make football decisions. And that's through great communication, being honest, being open about evaluations, about where our opinions on what we think we should do. And that's how we're going to move moving forward. And I like the setup as far as business. I stay in my lane in the football side. Business side is what it is. So I don't really know that part of it.
When I was talking with Coach and coming here too, he says, when some of the best advice he was given was just do what you do well and stick with that, and then hire the right people that do something well. And then before you know it, we all come together and you have a great team. Look, he was brought in here because the team wasn't doing so well, 3-13 last season. If you're to try and look, and I'm not going to ask you the raw bubble, guys are going to get there, but if you're to evaluate what they're going to do in 2020, what would your outlook be?
Well, I think right now, whenever you have a new staff and a new coaching staff and coordinators, philosophy, we can talk till we're blue in the face, which we have done in free agency and the draft, of what is Coach Del Rio's philosophy and how we're going to attack and what are the pieces he needs to be successful on defense. Same thing with Coach Turner. We can talk about it all we want, and we have to find the pieces. But now when we're in the season, we got the games, and we're seeing how that scheme is implemented in live games, and how do our players fit into that, and what do we need pieces moving forward. We have a good idea of where we want to go, even from right now, at this point now with the draft and free agency, what we potentially might need or positions of focus moving forward. But we won't really know until we actually see offense and defensive scheme, live fire, live bullets out on the field with our personnel that we have right now. So it's exciting being a new direction, being fresh, being first starting, you know what I mean? And now we can build moving forward. We have some good pieces, we feel, young pieces that we can build with. And it's exciting the potential of adding to those guys.
In free agency, since you bring that up, you went out and brought a lot of guys in that are like 1-year prove-it deals. You didn't bring in the big name where you went and spent a ton of money. What was the philosophy behind that?
Well, I think with any player acquisition, there's a lot of ways to do everything. Free agency, you can go out and get one guy and pay over the moon for him. But the one thing that we stressed is, we want to set ourselves up for the draft. If we think we have, say, for example, and this isn't true, but say you had 12 needs that you needed. If you fulfill some of those focus areas in free agency, you set yourself up for the draft to where you're not pushing guys off the board. You let the draft board speak to you, and you take the best player available that fits you and your system and your scheme, and you're not going in saying, oh my God, we need this. And then you start moving guys up the board and overdrafting guys. So we're starting fresh. Like I said, we're not in any, hey, we got to rush. We're always looking to win every game, every day. And that's the goal. That's always going to be the goal. But we want to build this thing the right way. And that was kind of the philosophy going into free agency. And that could change next year. There might be a big dog up there that we want to pay a lot of money to, and we might do that if we think it's the right move for us. So we can do it a lot of different ways.
Also looking forward to next year, you have a whole nother challenge here, Kyle, because a lot of conferences in college, they're not playing now and maybe getting off hopefully in the spring. We don't really even know how much this is going to impact, but what does it do for you when you're trying to look to the draft?
Yeah, well, right now it's really it's been kind of cool, but there's still unknowns, and I'm not going to jump ahead too much, but right now we're going in our normal routine. Tim Gribble is, as we speak, on a call in his office, a Zoom call with a team, college team. That's what's going to happen all fall. These are 4-hour meetings with colleges, learning about the character of the players, which is the most important aspect of the evaluation. So we'll watch the tape from last year. If there are games this year, if people do play in the spring or teams do play in the fall, we'll evaluate those as well. But we've got a plan in place, Tim Gribble and I, and we're going to execute that plan up until something changes, and we'll adapt and change as it goes.
Haskins going now into year 2. We're hearing a lot about the changes and the growth that he's made. You can sit back and you can evaluate him. Where would you say he's at?
Well, right now with Dwayne, he's one of the other 79 guys that are on our roster. Right now, it's about implementing where we are going forward, what our practice habits are, what our tempo is, what our offense is, what's expected from Coach Turner, Coach Zampese, the coaching points, your eye discipline, progression reads, all those things is about owning our offense. With Dwayne, obviously, and all the quarterbacks, experience is key, and that's playing in live games. So right now, he's taking ownership along with everybody else, all the other quarterbacks, everybody, of our playbook, learning from the veteran guys in that room, and continuing to get better. He's changed his body. He's been working hard. He's been working hard in practice. Every one of those players out there, I've been impressed with the work habits, and that's how we're handling it going forward.
All right, so we made it through this interview without your alarm going off or mine, which means we're at least 6 feet apart, although it's probably 6.5 feet, I would guess.
Yeah, we're all set. We actually moved down the hall just so that it wouldn't, the Zoom thing, the computers wouldn't get crossed.
Yeah, again, making the best of what we can in this time and trying to make sure we get football off and running successfully. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
We appreciate Kyle spending some time chatting with us, letting us know a little bit behind the scenes. And again, he has a lot of work to do this week, as do the coaching staff, because Cut Down Day is coming up on Saturday. A scrimmage is coming up later today. We're going to discuss what you can expect. Stay with us here on Washington Football Live. The Jets.
This summer, get back in the driver's seat. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Like the versatile HR-V or the fun-to-drive CR-V. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the CR-V at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
A moment of joy. A source of inspiration, an act of kindness, an old friend, a new beginning, some welcome relief, or a cause for celebration. What's inside? Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
We're back on Washington Football Live. Julie Donaldson, Santana Moss, and there is a scrimmage later on today at FedEx Field, 1 to 2 o'clock. In this scrimmage and practice, you're going to want to see something of what the team's going to look like going to the season. Now, Coach says they're not going to go full speed. He just kind of wants the guys to get used to being in the stadium because there is no preseason. But what are you expecting when you go into something like this,
I think,
especially on the defensive side?
Yeah, I think one of the key elements you want to see is tempo. You know, you want to see your team flying around, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I've always said that the defense is always ahead of the offense when it comes to these practices, especially in training camps. So you want to see those guys fly around and just continue to make plays together as a unit. Each unit is going to get a chance to go out there and and state their case of who wants to play the most. And even though it's not one of those practices where it's going to be live, what I would call it, you're still going to see guys flying around getting after it.
Yeah, so this is the X's presented by Pepsi as we do break down a little bit of the defense, talking about some of the second-year players that are coming in here. Cole Holcomb had a pretty good rookie season, and even then it was a bit of adjustment. He said as the season went along, he was able to finally kind of have it slowed down just a little bit for him. As you'd imagine for a rookie, they're just thinking a lot, right? Well, I think that's still a little bit the case now as he does go into his second year, but even then he had over 100 tackles. What are you looking and seeing from his potential now in year 2?
I mean, he really doesn't have a ceiling. You know, he's a guy that his potential, he's a sideline guy, so he shows you that he has the speed and he can hit everything. But one of the things you want to see from this guy is just, his progression. Want to see him get better than some of the things that he didn't do well last year. I think last year he shows you that he couldn't cover worth nothing. And I'm not sure if it was because of the scheme that they was in or it was just him being a young guy. So you want to see if he can evolve into that player that can be an every down linebacker.
Yeah, there are times where you saw him have to turn around and chase the guys down instead of missing
Too many
tackles.
times.
Too many times. And even then, he still had over 100. So I think there's still a lot of room for growth for him. And you talk about the scheme last season. A lot of guys have been saying, it was broken down all across the board for them. But it's much more disciplined now, much more fundamentally sound. And that should help a lot of the guys coming in here and emerge as well. So with him, you have Thomas Davis Sr. coming for his 16th season, and he still wants to play. He wants to be right out there, but he also is a bit of a mentor for these younger guys as well. And then you have Reuben Foster trying to get into the mix as he's going. You have John Bostic returning. He's been a lot of teams. Kevin Pierre-Louis, KPL. With all of those guys, is there time to kind of take a little bit of a slower approach for Holcomb to be able to get in there to kind of develop where he needs to be?
Not at all. I think, that those guys add more pressure to a guy like Holcomb. He's a guy that, like I quoted before, he's very talented. But when you have highly qualified vets, now these vets are going to be fighting for their job. Their window is very, slim. So they don't have a chance to sit back and say, hey, maybe next year or maybe later down the season I'll get my playing time. They want playing time now. So they're going to fight him and push him to evolve even faster. So he has to soak up what he can learn from those vets, but at the same time understand that it's either him or them. And if he don't get the game like they have it, then he won't be playing.
And one of the things as well, the coaches, they've been rotating the guys from all different positions, rotating with the first string, second string, third string. And so it's a little bit of mental gymnastics for some of the guys. And for Cole Holcomb, I think, while the game slowed down a little bit last season, in this scheme, it should be a little bit easier, but I still feel like he's got just a little bit more to go. But he's got those guys to put the pressure on him, kind of lead and guide along the way. I'm not worried about what he's going to be able to do this season. Another player that you're expecting a lot more from is, if we go to the cornerbacks, Jimmy Moreland. Look, they've said this season that he's come in much more mature than last season. And coach describes him as he's a funny guy, like a really funny player. But they like how he carries himself. So here is Moreland when he was asked about his maturity.
Just seeing things that this off season, I went back and watched a lot of film. I always catch myself when I get to a new level, starting off slow. I wanted to start off fast. I started off fast during training camp last year, but I didn't keep that up. And then I had to get to where, looking at the older guys, the vets on this team, how they take themselves more professionally. How they go out through their day. Taking care of their bodies. And being separating your life and from your profession. So, I took a lot of time off this off season, due to COVID. I was able to find myself inside my home. And I wanted to, make great things about it. A lot of people see the potential, but, my coaches, I had plenty of coaches always told me potential ain't nothing unless you know what to do with it.
I have to admit, even when I was chatting with him and you watch his press conference, he is carrying himself with a little bit more maturity and a little more confidence. Coming in, he came from a small school, at VCU, didn't have, JMU, my apologies, down the same little area, JMU, down there. Thank you, Charlie, catching me up on that one. I love that guys keep me honest. But look, he has a knack for the ball. He even did last season, but he still didn't pull on the interceptions that he wanted. But he seems to say, coaches say, he seems to be where the ball always is.
I mean, I think he surprised everybody last year with just being able to make the squad and be that guy that showed a lot of potential last year. His potential is high. I think his ceiling is very high, and I truly believe that with that year of being thrust into that position last year and having to play a lot, this year can only be better for him. We know his intangibles. We know what he can bring to the table. Now it's all about seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Similar to what we were talking about Holcomb, how he has some of those veterans to kind of like lead and guide and play in front of him a little bit. He's got Kendall Fuller. He's got some other vets back there as well. Does that help him maybe play a little bit more relaxed?
Yeah, well, you know, having a guy like Kendall, he can actually get a lot of notes from Kendall. Kendall's a guy that can play both in and out. You know, he plays the slot receiver very well, and that's the position where you saw Jimmy put in a lot last year. But Jimmy's is one of those guys. He's fearless. You know, he doesn't care where he's at on the field. He can play all the positions, something that Coach Harris, you know, thrives on, all those guys knowing every position. But having a guy like Kendall that he can lean on and ask questions, you know, he just quoted and said that, hey, you know, that's one of the things that he's been watching, the veterans of how they take care of themselves, how they go about being professionals. He has a great professional to learn from.
And Kendall brings, of course, that Super Bowl experience. We had him mic'd up. If you haven't seen it, you have to go to the website and make sure you get to look in on that, because you see Kendall Fuller and the leadership that he's taking, the communication that he's having. And there is better communication already, guys are saying, compared to what they had last season, which was kind of non-existent. But, yeah, Jimmy, I think there's a lot of expectations for him. And last season, while he played predominantly just in the slot, this year they want to line him up outside as well. They want him using everywhere. And just because he's a small guy, they like the fight that he has in him. As you mentioned, he plays pretty aggressive. How about if we go now over to the D-line and we talk about Montez Sweat? You know, like, he finished the season stronger than he started. You know, again, had to learn how to use his body, learn where his strengths was. Where are they now, you think, heading into year 2?
I think one of the things you want to see that's key with him is just see how he gets off the ball. You know, he's a guy that came out and everyone, you know, raved about his speed, and that's what you want to see. You want to see more of that. Last year you saw so much of him dropping off into pass, you know, coverage and stuff, and you wondering why. This guy was known for getting off the ball, getting after the quarterback. So you want to see more of that. And then, you know, they talked a little more too coming into this camp about, you know, the strength and all his size he bulked up to. So all that plays a big role when it comes to just being that every down guy and knowing that he's going to have to be that guy to set the tone and set the line of scrimmage.
All right, I think you can expect a lot more from him. A lot of people are projecting that he could be the one that leads the team in sacks, just because Chase Young's going to draw the double teams, which should open him up. At scrimmage, how hard can you really go? I mean, you can't go the preseason speed, but how hard can you go against your teammates?
Well, one of the things that you're going to see, especially from those guys up front, you know, Montez and those guys, they're going to get off the ball. They're going to set the edge in the run game, and they can't get after the quarterback like they want, but they have to show that they're going to be there. You know, a lot of times with those quarterbacks, you don't even want to be around his bubble or his little circle that he's in. So you want to make sure that you show up and just show the coaches that, hey, I could have got to him. So I'm pretty sure they're going to show those first couple of steps that they can get there, and then they'll back off a little bit.
All right. Practices have been ramped up. The defense has been a little more aggressive the past few days. We'll see if that continues today at the scrimmage. When we come back here, we're going to be talking about the offensive side of the ball. What is going to determine a good day for Haskins later?
This summer, it's time to get back outdoors. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Enjoy the sunshine in the family-friendly Pilot or the rugged Passport. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the Pilot at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
Miracles. What we deliver by delivering.
It is the O's presented by FedEx, and today at the scrimmage, we want to be able to know what we're going to be able to see from this offense. Again, it's going to be about 40 minutes of individual drills and warm-ups, and then 40 minutes of a scrimmage. Coach says he's not going to be revealing too many plays that would be tipped off to the Eagles, so don't expect necessarily anything you're going to see so much in week 1, but you are going to be able to see the growth and development of some guys. If you're talking about the offense, what are your expectations in a scrimmage?
Oh, you just want to see these guys move the ball up and down the field. one of the things that's key in being a guy that been put in this situation before, that coaches always emphasize completions on third down and trying to put up points, one way or another, whether you're getting 3 out of it or you're scoring a touchdown. You want to put that offense in a scoring position and have them in a red zone. So that's going to be key, and I'm looking forward to seeing these guys do so.
If we're talking about Dwayne Haskins Jr. specifically, I think the other day he was doing pretty good converting on third downs and being able to get them further down, which is something that they were atrocious at last season. They were always getting off the field, and comes the punt game. What do you want to see from him today? What do you think determines a good day for him?
I think one of the things is always key, when it comes to practice, regardless if it's a live day or not, making it through the practice, first and foremost. You want to see the guy making it through the practice. But I think what's key for a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, showing command of the huddle and also, of the offense. You want to make sure that he knows what's going on. This is a new offense for him, his second offense in 2 years. So you want to make sure that when you have these times to go out, that he doesn't have to lean on the coach that as much. He has everything down and he's putting guys in the right position.
The big thing that they've been wanting for him, because we keep saying, all right, it has to be accuracy, and they're saying not necessarily at this moment, which sounds wild, but it's because they want decision making, because this is a really up-tempo, fast offense, and he's going to have to get that ball out quickly, decide where he's going to go. That's going to be their elements of surprise, is to go with an up-tempo. So are you looking at maybe lower turnover rate or touchdowns for him? Is it the deep throws? Is it just getting the balls to different guys? What do you want?
I think when it comes to, it's all in one. I think you want to see him make some of those accurate, shorter completions, those intermediate passes. We know what he has. He has a cannon for an arm, so I'm pretty sure that deep ball he doesn't have to worry about. But you want to see him more accurate underneath. And then you also want to see less turnovers. I would take less turnovers more than touchdowns, because as long as you're giving us a chance to not give them the ball, then we have a chance to score and beat the team that way. And then also you want to see him make sure that he's making great decisions and getting the ball to different guys. You don't want to see one guy getting the majority of those opportunities. And when you see him getting different guys involved, that means he's reading and finding the right open guy.
So you kind of teed me up there for this next one. If we talk about Terry McLaurin, we already know he's pretty much his favorite target for the days going back to when they played together at Ohio State to last season. And Terry's the one guy on offense, as in the wide receiver group, that hasn't been moved around. Whenever the ones are out there, it's Terry and Dwayne. The rest have kind of been spreading around, mixed up, as the coaches, again, are trying to figure out who does what, how they play, sometimes how they putting them with the second team just to see how guys stack up with the first and against different competition. So for Terry, not every game is going to be multi-touchdowns. Not every game is going to be over 100 yards. What would be a good day for a receiver?
Well, when you think about it, would it be a good day for a receiver without those catches and without those yardage? I mean, just knowing his assignment. One of the things that I thrive on, and I used to teach, this to my campers, alignment and assignment. Know where to line up at and make sure you know your assignment. I talked to you briefly about, I had a game when I had no catches and got the game ball because I went out there, I made sure I had my alignment, my assignment, and then I was a great decoy, and then I showed up in the blocking game. You want to make sure that you can, if you're not, being a part of the game when it comes to making those big plays that you're doing outside, then you're making plays for other guys to get open and those guys to have running lanes when it comes to those running backs.
I thought you said you didn't like to hit.
I didn't, but I'm a receiver at the end of the day. I know how to play football. That's what I know how to do.
If there's a block you have to be made, make it. Terry showed that he's not afraid of that either. Do you want to be able to see Haskins connecting with him, or do you just need to be able to see more that Haskins just like, all right, we know you can get to Terry. Who else are you going to get to?
It's always good to see those guys connect. I mean, every receiver or everybody that's out there want a chance to touch the ball, especially if you're wide out. But if I don't see it from Terry, we've seen this guy numerous of times showing up in practice, so we know he's going to get his opportunities. But if he's out there, I'm pretty sure he wants an attempt or two. I've always said, hey, if I'm out there, give me one, let me touch. I don't care if it's 5 yards, let me touch the rock. But if I don't see that from him today, just making it through today is a good sight for me.
So there's about 7 or 8 coach said positions battles that are going on that they have to decide on some of the guys. So they pretty much seem to know who their starters are. Yeah. With no preseason, that's kind of at a disadvantage. And coach said if you're going to be honest, you really don't know when you try to make these decisions what you're going to get. So you're trying to make it and make the most impressions that you can, the best impression that you can in practice. Another example, when you go up to a scrimmage, to be able for those guys to say, hey, you know what, for those last 7, 8 spots, I have to show up.
Yeah. I think these snaps matter. you know, Coach said it again, you know, they're not going to be live and taking guys to the ground, but they definitely matter. You know, they still have a chance to really solidify, you know, where they fit in this team. And I've always said every time that camera's on, it's your chance to go out there and put up good stuff on tape. We was always say the eye in the sky don't lie. So any chance you get a chance to practice, whether it's live or not, you know, I don't care if it's half speed. Show them that you're going to always be available and be that guy that they can count on.
Do guys like the intra-squad scrimmages? I mean,
it varies.
Can you walk away, especially with no preseason, can you walk away and say, okay, we played against each other, we got a better feel for what's going to come?
It varies. I think it changes up things that you're used to doing, especially in training camps. Training camp it's like Groundhog Day. You get tired of the same old thing. So when you have a chance to change it up and know things are going to be, count a little differently, you know, it makes you go out there and prepare for it like a game.
So typically one side of the ball, when we go through practices, always say that they have a better day. When you look at this, if one side has a good day, do you sit there and say, okay, good, like praise them, or is it then you start looking at the other side and say, all right, guys, you got to pull up the slack a little bit?
That's every day. Coach is going to lie sometime to you, too. You know, I mean, you can go out there and completely just dominate the defense, and they're going to say the defense got you today. But that just gives you something more to, you know, add to the fuel, you know, add fuel to your fire so you can look forward to the next day. I think one of the things you can take from these practices, they're not going to make or break you, but it's going to always show you where you need work at, and that's always good. You know, you're going to always look forward to saying that we can get better at this position or get better in this area, and that's, to me, I think that's everything.
How do you determine how hard you go? Because you're playing against your teammates.
Look,
so
regardless who's out there, my mama's in front of me, and
really?
they blow that whistle. This is my job. You know, it's not no, hey, we're gonna be friends, you know, through these couple of plays.
But you don't want to take your teammate out and hurt them.
You're not. You know how to look. These guys do this for a living, so they know how hard to go without doing anything cheap. You know.
take your mama down, really?
Yes. Got to, sorry, but I got to.
What would she say afterwards, though?
I love you. I love you.
Not surprising. You got to get it from somebody. If you get it from your mama.
You got to.
Hey, when we come back here, we're going to talk about what is trending. Logan Campbell will be joining us. There was a lot of good competition going on at camp yesterday. She's going to be highlighting a few of those position battles and who took down who. Stay with us here on Washington Football Live.
A moment of joy. A source of inspiration, an act of kindness, an old friend, a new beginning, some welcome relief, or a cause for celebration. What's inside? Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
This summer, get back in the driver's seat. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Like the versatile HR-V or the fun-to-drive CR-V. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the CR-V at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
We are all about what is trending because this is a very digital world and we need to keep up with what is going on. So a lot of stuff was amped up a good bit at practice, some good competitions. You saw Chase Young take down quite a few players. I think even manhandled like Adrian Peterson at one point, get up and give him a high five. Look, there's a lot of excitement around this team, especially as you do see practice get going a little bit more. So here is Logan Campbell with what is trending, presented by Bank of America.
Well, yesterday was one of the last days that we could watch a full practice, and let me tell you, it was the most competitive practice that we have seen all training camp. In case you missed it, here's a video of Chase Young taking down AP at the 1 yard line. Check it out. Julian Santana, every time that the Washington football team posts a picture or video of Chase Young, it seems to go viral instantly. I mean, seriously, this guy trends at least once a week. But throughout training camp, we have seen common themes of intensity, competitiveness, and one of the biggest ones is coming together as a team. Throughout training camp, head coach Ron Rivera has said how the veterans have been welcoming in the younger guys. And over the weekend, we mic'd up Ryan Kerrigan, and he showed us a perfect example of what Ron Rivera was talking about.
My main thing is I'm just trying to focus on taking a direct pass, like staying on the line, and then adjusting on the fly. Like, you know, if the tackle's real aggressive, then you got to use your hands a little more. But if he's kind of passive, like coach says, you got to make him feel that thunder, you know. I think the main thing is just having a low, fast get off. Like then you kind of react. I mean, it's tough to predetermine stuff because you don't know what kind of set you're going to get. So.
All throughout training camp, we've heard from several of the younger guys about how Ryan Kerrigan has taken them under his wing and have been showing them the ropes. Now I'll be the first to say it, the young guys and the rookies are extremely lucky to have this 4-time Pro Bowler here to help them out. Julian Santana, the 53-man roster will be finalized on Saturday, and there's going to be some tough decisions that these coaches have to make. Yesterday after practice, head coach Ron Rivera said that there are still 7 to 8 spots that they are still trying to figure out. So it'll be really interesting to see how this week will play out. Julian Santana, back to you.
Thank you, Logan. That is What is Trending, presented by Bank of America. I love the mic'd up segments. I haven't seen Ryan Kerrigan's yet, but he's showing his leadership right there, coaching everyone up.
I hear so many times when you hear guys talk about other guys and said, you know, some of the greats don't give insight. Well, that's not true. You know, that's the way I learned this game, and I'm pretty sure every guy that's on the level of a Ryan Kerrigan is going to make sure that the young guy or the guy underneath him has what it takes.
And they should be listening as well, which we've been told that they are. All right, when we come back here, we are going to give you our post-game speech.
Miracles. What we deliver by delivering.
This summer, it's time to get back outdoors. Your Honda dealer is open and ready to get you into a new Honda today. Enjoy the sunshine in the family-friendly Pilot or the rugged Passport. Visit the Honda Summer Clearance Event and get a great deal from Honda, KBB.com's 2020 Best Value Brand. Get a great deal on the Pilot at the Honda Summer Clearance Event today.
Here is our post-game speech, and we're basically telling you that there is no happy hour show today, which typically is Monday through Friday at 2:30, because there's the practice at FedEx Field that is at 1 o'clock. You can catch that on Team 980 and ESPN 630, and then we're going to put some good video with it because that's just the radio, and that'll be 7 p.m. on YouTube, on WashingtonFootball.com, and then 11 o'clock on the NFL networks. So you're going to be tuning in?
I'm looking forward to it.
Will you tell us how we did?
Yeah, I got you.
Sit back, critique us.
I'm going to kill it, man.
Yeah?
No worries.
All right, so we will be back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. as well. Thanks for joining us on Washington Football Live. You'll listen to us at 1 o'clock. You'll see us later tonight at 7.